The Bmore Football Podcast is brought to you by Rice Law.
Champions of the North.
Hello there, and welcome inside a special edition of the Bmore Football Podcast. He is a longtime Baltimore Sun columnist. It's Mike Preston. I'm Jerry Coleman. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. It's all at one address, Bmore Sports Pod. That is Bmore Sports Pod. Bookmark it, or watch us at BaltimoreSun.com. All right, in this special episode, Mike and I talk about the news of John Harbaugh's firing after 18 years of covering this guy. What is next for the former Ravens head coach? Who's going to be the fourth coach in Ravens history? All topics du jour just ahead. Of course, we're brought to you by Rice Law. Hey, Baltimore football fans, if you've been hurt in a car accident, don't go at it alone. The lawyers at Rice Law know how to fight for the compensation you deserve. Protect yourself, protect your family, and remember, best advice, call Rice. Learn more by going to ricelawmd.com. That's ricelawmd.com. Mike, I have to tell you, I'm actually stunned. The news came out yesterday, midday. I think a lot of people that cover this team didn't see this coming. Maybe thinking that, because of what occurred on Sunday night, if there was going to be a parting of the ways, it would come on Monday morning. But looking at the statement that was put out and looking at John Harbaugh's statement in particular, it's clear that he was thrown off guard by this decision, at least reading between the lines. Your thoughts on the decision and what's ahead?
From what I heard, they had like 5 hours of meetings yesterday. Harbaugh with Sashi Brown and Eric DaCosta and so forth. And the meetings didn't go well. And then that's when they made the decision that they weren't going to bring him back. And I heard there were some discrepancies over who's going to be their offensive coordinator. If it was Todd Monken or not. That's some of the things I heard. I don't know about Zach Orr. I don't know his status and if that was even in the equation. But I do know that Monken was included in the whole situation. And Jerry, let's put it to you this way. Monken and Lamar Jackson, they were never like good guys together. All right. Monken is old school. He had his own ways of doing things. He wanted to do it his way. And Harbaugh was more of the patronizer type of guy. Let's pacify, let's modify, let's help Lamar and bring this together. And the situation didn't resolve itself. So the bottom line was they let him go, and John Harbaugh is going to make $17.5 million. And I don't know what he's going to do. And then there's all these rumors and things about him being a head coach. I wouldn't count that as a definite. Here's a guy who has had broadcasting in his blood. Good-looking guy, stays in shape. He can make the rounds and still do this and still get paid. So I'm not sure that's going to happen. All this stuff about, we talked to the agent of John Harbaugh. They got 6 or 7 job offers. We'll see what happens. But, hey, right now, John Harbaugh is in a pretty good position.
Yep, and there's a lot to delve into, including number 8's impact on John Harbaugh's no longer being the head coach of the Ravens, but his agent is Kevin Harlan, who is the brother. It's Brian Harlan is his agent, who is the brother of announcer Kevin Harlan. As you mentioned, John has had stints with NBC in the past, but I want to go back to the dismissal, and he never got a chance to inform his staff the right way. Again, it was a statement that was hastily put out after reports were leaked. It just didn't seem Raven-like the way it all went down, Mike.
Well, I was impressed that it was done so early because you don't want this festering. You talk about who's going to be the head coach, and after every loss, we kept hearing about it all the time. Fire John Harbaugh, fire John Harbaugh. And I was concerned about this was going to take for a extended period of time, maybe 2 weeks. Well, you don't want to wait that long. I mean, if you're in that market and you're looking for a head coach, get it out there, you let them go and move on, you make a decision. I thought the timing was perfect for what happened. They needed to let him go. Things didn't work out. You can't keep blaming it on coordinators. All right. And I listed the coordinators that he's fired over the year, offensive and defensive coordinators. But the bottom line is it always comes back to the head coach. It always does. So if you keep firing coordinators, well, who wants to be a coordinator in Baltimore because he keeps firing them all the time, whether it's Zach or Todd Monken? No, it goes down to the head coach. Did I think he lost the locker room? That never happened. It never, ever happened. John Harbaugh did not lose the locker room. What he did lose was that charisma, that magnetism. But the best thing about this, Jerry, was, and you had text from him. I got text from him this morning. And the best thing about it is he was like happy, almost relieved, I think, to get this over with because of the injuries and so forth and the way they struggled. But he was also very gracious. He was also very appreciative of this organization. And that says a lot about John Harbaugh as a person and as about him as a human being.
Yeah. The only portion of the text I'll share is he wrote that he's in a good place right now. And I will say, again, I don't remember a coach ever putting out a statement that included an emoji. So that was an all-time first. You harked on this the other day. The fact that Steve Bisciotti has not really said anything in years, that was an opportune time for him or Eric DeCosta or both to hold a press conference, whether it be by Zoom or in person.
Well, he wasn't going to hold a press conference. We know Steve Bisciotti doesn't hold press conferences. But I was glad to see a statement because it showed an appreciation of John Harbaugh and the work he's done here. But I was always also glad to see a statement by John Harbaugh expressing his gratitude for being a coach. Now, let's look at it this way. 18 years in one city, that's remarkable. Usually a head coach, if you last 8 to 10 years in one city, that's pretty impressive. But to do it 18 years in one city, that's a long run. Says a lot about John Harbaugh. Says a lot about the Ravens organization. And when they go out and look for another coach, they're going to go out and find a younger guy, and they want him to stay around for a long time because that's the MO of the Ravens. That's the MO of Steve Bisciotti. And they look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin. Those are the guys that they want in place. They want to keep them here for a long period of time, and I think that's what they'll do.
Yeah, we'll see if Pittsburgh stays with their coach after what happened here in Baltimore. But so many great memories over the Harbaugh era. You and I fortunate to cover all 18 years, from the playoff wins, the primetime victories, of course, Super Bowl 47. Let's not forget, he also had to deal with a bit of scandal, too. He was the man out there. They put him out there as the face of the franchise through the Ray Rice ordeal. And then again, Justin Tucker, Mike.
Yep. And you're right. And those are the correct words, face of the organization, because Ozzie Newsome didn't want to talk about it. Eric DeCosta didn't want to talk about it. But you know who did? John Harbaugh was always up front, took it on. And, one of the things I really liked about him was whenever they needed that spark, that something extra, John was the guy who would step up and step forward. Now, there's plenty of things I didn't like about John as a head coach. His decision-making on game days was not very good. His ability to, or his lack of ability to gamble, some of his questionable decisions as far as timeout and red flags and so forth. But for the most part, and people keep saying this all the time. I heard it on radio this morning. He only won a Super Bowl. There are like 12 to 14 teams that have never won a Super Bowl.
Many haven't even been to that game. All the spoiled Baltimore fans out there should take note of that.
Yeah, and then they start talking about there's this one play, there's two plays that define the Ravens, and it was lucky. Hey, in every time you go and look back at a Super Bowl, you look at a win and who won it, there's always one or two plays that kind of just define. Now, Ray Rice and that little check down they threw, and it went for like 34 yards or whatever, or Jacoby Jones and the Mile High Miracle. Those things happen. And as Brian Billick once said, fate plays a hand. It does. And sometimes you got to be lucky, and it's better to be lucky than to be good sometimes. There's nothing wrong with that. It happens every year. John Harbaugh was a very good coach. He did a nice job here in Baltimore. And the last 18 years is very impressive.
And you can include in that equation Jimmy Smith and Michael Crabtree at the end of Super Bowl 47, going the Ravens' way after the lights went out for a long period of time. Now, I want to go back to, the fans. Some are low information fans out there. They may not be privy to some of the information we're privy to, but there's this narrative that, John Harbaugh wanted to get rid of the strong leaders, going back to Ed Reed and Ray Lewis, and didn't want any strong vocal leaders inside that locker room. Well, what do you call Marlon Humphrey or Zay Flowers when he wants to talk, or Kyle Van Noy or Tyler Linderbaum? To me, they're all strong leaders in there. I don't think he tried to silence anyone in that locker room. That's such a lazy, lame narrative to me, Mike.
Well, I disagree. I think he did. I think he did that. And it's because he was a young coach. A coach evolves. People keep thinking that you come in and no, he came from a coaching family, a coaching tree, and he didn't want those type of leaders. There's a reason why Chris McAllister left. There's a reason why Jonathan Ogden said, "Oh no, I'm not going to play for John Harbaugh. He's a hard ass." There's reasons why. And then he got rid of Ray. He got rid of Ed Reed, got rid of Anquan Bolden. Yeah, he did that. But the whole evolution of a coach, he brought in Marcus Peters.
Yes. Odell Beckham.
Yes. Those guys were disgruntled veterans. But that shows how he evolved as a football coach. And it takes time. When you come in and you do it for the first 2 or 3 years, and you win a Super Bowl, and all of a sudden you say, okay, now it's my team, and you learn from that. And he did, and then he started bringing in some other guys. I mean, even Jimmy Smith at one point in college was an outcast. He brought him in. He played hard here. That happens. That's the way the whole position evolves itself. And I was pretty happy the way he did that, because it showed that he grew as a football coach. He grew as a person.
He still remains friends with a lot of these guys that people think he had falling out with, from Ray to Ed, all these guys that won Super Bowls with him. They're all going to come back eventually and celebrate that as a unit.
Oh, yeah. You don't know what goes on in a locker room unless you're in the locker room. All right. And I've seen John in locker rooms. I've seen John, the way he interacts with players and people. He was very close. And the best thing about him was he could take times when they were struggling playing. He could build on that. And he was very good at that. I thought that was his strongest asset. But with this team, it was different. He started to lose that edge a little bit, and you could see it in his face. You could see it on the sideline. And people will try to make a big deal and say, "Oh, it was either the choose to coach or Lamar Jackson." It wasn't about that. No, it was not about that. They struggled. They didn't get to the postseason with the roster that was the best ever in the team's history. All right. Do I blame it all on John Harbaugh? No, but again, who is the head coach? That's the guy who's accountable, and that's the guy who basically got fired for this.
Yeah, and the lasting image we're going to have of him is walking Tyler Loop into the locker room after he choked in Pittsburgh.
But you know something? And even that, it's understandable. And there were people saying, well, why didn't he run the ball a couple more times to get a little closer? He wasn't going to make that field goal from, even if it was an extra point. He was not going to make that. That thing was so wide right. It was done. It was over. And, kudos to the coach for hugging up that player, because let me tell you something. When you're a rookie and you miss that field goal like that, boy, that and it's as time expires, you're in a sad state. And he went right over there and hugged that kid. That's that special teams background he had for all of those years in Philadelphia. I was impressed by him doing that. Says a lot about John Harbaugh, again, as a person, the evolution of a coach.
More of the Bmore Football Podcast right after this.
At Rice Law, we've won millions for our injury clients, taken on the biggest insurance companies, and fought in the toughest courtrooms, and made it clear, strong lawyers win strong cases. But none of that matters today. The only case that matters is yours, your fight, your future. And we're ready to go to battle for you. We don't rest on past victories. We fight every case like it's our only one. Because at Rice Law, the most important victory is the one we win for you.
Rice Law. Best advice, call Rice.
Shake Shack is an amazingly fun urban dining experience, so treat yourself this holiday season with some all-time Shake Shack favorites. From the Shack Burger and crinkle-cut fries to those unbelievably delicious hand-spun shakes, or try some of the limited-time menu items throughout the year. Stop by Shake Shack's newest location at the Festival at Wood Home Shops in Pikesville. See you there. Shop Maryland's largest adult-use and medical cannabis menu, located at 1114 Cathedral Street in Baltimore, with medical delivery available throughout Maryland 7 days a week, only at Relief Shop.
For the last 25 years, Wood Home Insurance has been Baltimore's premier independent home, auto, and business insurance broker, representing over 30 carriers. For example, need an auto quote? Wood Home shops them all. Geico, Progressive, Travelers, AAA, Safeco, and Selective, and sends you back the best rates possible. I have personally been a client for over 2 decades, and they are world-class in service. Wood Home's owner, Rich Gottlieb, is happy to schedule a Zoom appointment with you at your convenience. Oh, and Rich is a longtime Ravens season ticket holder, so when at the game, let him know where you're tailgating. He'll drop by and say hello. So for all your needs, it's Wood Home Insurance, 410-580-2800 or woodhomeinsurance.com.
Meet the newest member of the Jack Daniels family, Jack Daniels Tennessee Blackberry. Jack Daniels takes pride in Old Number 7 being the backbone of all our flavors, and Jack Daniels Blackberry is no exception. A combination of our proprietary black liqueur and Jack Daniels' unique and unmistakable character, Jack Blackberry is a highly versatile juxtaposition of flavor. Delightfully sweet, bold, vibrant, and refreshing, Jack Blackberry is easily enjoyed with your favorite mixer, in a cocktail, or while enjoying your next football game. Jack Daniels Tennessee Blackberry is here, and as always, Jack Daniels reminds you to drink responsibly. For years, we were told to say no, but Verano is rewriting that story with award-winning flower, vapes, edibles, concentrates, and topicals for every kind of vibe. Shop smart with Savvy. Treat yourself with Encore chocolates. Relax with an Avexia bath soak, or keep it light with Bits gummies. Want something premium? Grab Essence pre-rolls or a Reserve 8th. Verano makes premium cannabis for all. Find out for yourself. Head to one of our original sponsors, Relief Shop in Baltimore on Cathedral Avenue, and mention Bmore Verano for an exclusive deal. That's Bmore Verano. This ad and products are intended for legal consumers 21 and over. Effective Solutions, your one-stop shop for commercial contracting. Everything from excavation and site development to emergency remediation and restoration. Effective Solutions specializes in many forms of commercial and mixed-use construction. With a dedicated staff and a commitment to quality, Effective Solutions delivers every time.
Yeah, Mike, I don't know what the relationship was with he and Lamar. I thought he bent over backwards to accommodate Lamar, moving practice to the middle of the day, protecting him publicly, repeatedly, when I know privately he wasn't always happy, just like Monken with his work habits. Haven't heard from Lamar at the time of this taping in terms of social media. Had a chance to say something to support Harbaugh. I thought the timing was a little off after a loss, but what's his role in all of this, do you think?
I don't think he had a role. I think he may have talked to the owner. I think a whole bunch of players over there talked to the owners. But I'm not going to blame this on Lamar Jackson. I'm not even going to say after the game, when you lose a game like that, do you really want to talk about, should John Harbaugh return next season? And should he or shouldn't he? I don't want to talk about that. I don't even want to hear about that. All I want to do is get away. And that's exactly what I thought he did. You know, to other people who just said, oh, well, he should have defended the coach. No, he shouldn't have. What he should have done is just said, man, I am totally confused. I am totally screwed up about what happened. I'm bewildered. I'm baffled. And I need to take a break from you guys. That's the proper response. And that's what he did.
He's going to get a break until June, it looks like, because I doubt we're going to hear him. I doubt he shows up for any of the camps earlier than June, especially if he doesn't have a contract. But is now the onus more on him more than ever and GM Eric DeCosta to fix this thing?
The onus is on the new head coach. How do you approach your star quarterback? Do you change up? And we'll find out soon. I mean, if you have those practices at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning instead of 1 and 2 in the afternoon, there's a sign right there. Is he still sleeping in meetings and still not getting proper rest and the proper nourishment? That's another sign. The thing is, man, is if you're bringing a new coach, are you going to hold him accountable? Are you going to hold the whole team accountable? And are the rules the same for every player? That's what you want. That's what you strive for. And we'll see what happens with the new coach. But that's going to be interesting. And what do they tell them? I mean, does Eric DeCosta go up and say, you got to be a little fragile with Lamar? Or they said, nah, we tried that before. Let's just go get it done. And all the rules apply. And that's what you want.
All right, I did want to ask you about some of the positives and negatives of the 18 years of covering John Harbaugh. We'll start with the negativity because why not? For me, I thought he was a little too uptight when it came to injuries and talking about injuries, and the injury report was going to be out an hour after he spoke, but he couldn't tell us anything for a quote-unquote competitive advantage. Was that a little over the top in your estimation?
No, I think it just happened with John, especially in big games. When you watched him in the bigger the game, the tighter he got. Yeah. And the closer it got to game time, you could sense it, you could see it, you could feel it. Was that a problem? Maybe. Some players thrive on that. Like, oh, yeah, let's get all fired up, rah, rah. And some players said, nah, we don't like that. You have to know your team. You have to know the personality of your team. And usually he did that. But as far as drawbacks, his major drawbacks I saw were on game day with some of the decisions he made, the gambles. And I think that was part of the Lamar Jackson effect, saying we have the best quarterback. We have the best player on the field. Let's go for it. Let's shoot for it. I didn't always agree with that. I didn't always agree with some of the decisions he made. But overall, pretty effective.
Yeah, I mean, there's not too much negativity you can say about this guy who's, I think, going to be a Hall of Fame coach. Although he did keep the T-shirt businesses locally in business, all the corny T-shirts that he's put out over the years. Still have my Mighty Man jacket. Thank you, Willis McGahee. By the way, the last guy I saw wearing this was Tyler Loop. Maybe he should turn that Mighty Man jacket in, but that was collegial. The first time we saw that, the Mighty Man jackets, when he announced the 50th Mighty Man of Baltimore got their jackets today. We were all looking at each other like, huh?
Yeah, but you know something? As you look back, I mean, again, it's the evolution of a coach. He just came out of, he was with the Eagles organization, but he still had that whole college mentality of excitement and camaraderie. And that's what you do. And he did that. And I thought it was corny because usually when players get a little older, they're like, man, 53 mighty men. But it worked for him initially. And that's what counted, was guys wanted to play hard for him. And, you look back and, the Ray Lewises and Ed Reeds, they were a little older at that time. And they probably kind of sat back and said, man, it's kind of corny, but it was kind of fun. It was.
It was always entertaining. All right. On a personal note, I will forever be grateful to Coach Harbaugh. The day my mom passed away, he took time out to acknowledge her passing during a press conference, which went viral. She was a big fan of his, so I will never forget that. And I went kind of soft on him in terms of questions for a while because of what he said. Had a real good relationship with his father, Jack Harbaugh, as well. So sorry to see him go, and hopefully we'll be able to stay in touch. I mean, let's move along now. In terms of candidates, who's going to be the fourth head coach in Ravens history? It's a very attractive job. I think you would have to say it moves right to the top of the list in terms of availabilities, Mike.
I think you have to look at the total organization. And the Ravens are one of the best in the National Football League. You can dislike them. You don't have to agree with some of the decisions that they've made. But for the most part, they're very good at what they do. They are very sound. And you look back at the history of the coaches they've hired. Ted Marchibroda was the right coach at the right time. All right. He had ties in the Baltimore community. They brought him in. He wasn't going to complain. Despite the Models not having any money, he wasn't going to complain. Then they bring in Brian Billett. Loud, but very, very detailed. And remember, they put those Billett boards up all over the place. There's billboards up all over Baltimore. That was kind of fun. And then you listen to this guy talk, and he was very good. Brian was excellent.
He was a wordsmith, yes.
Yes. And then he switched over and became a fan of the dark side, running the football and playing with that defense. That was cool. And then they brought in John Harbaugh. Now, no one even knew who John Harbaugh was, special teams coach in Philadelphia. But I had heard he had spoken with Andy Reid, and Andy Reid had told him, "It's time, John. You got to get out of Philly." So he comes to Baltimore. All right. And there was no way I was going to predict this guy. Remember, who's the guy? Jason Garrett was the guy they originally hired.
Yep. But his wife had seen The Wire too much and was afraid of the city.
Yeah. Remember that stuff? And then they bring in John. And he's a young guy, go-getter. And then he gets out there and he starts coaching the team. And people can say whatever they want. 2012, they win that Super Bowl title. And Joe Flacco was the hottest thing you've ever seen. Man, he was just throwing the ball all over the place. And they did what they had to do. But if you look at the overall record, they were impressive. And you're right. He might be a Hall of Fame coach. I don't know. I'm not in that room anymore. But you have to look at the overall record. Pretty impressive. And he leaves here. And I will say this, Jerry. John Harbaugh was a Christian man. And his faith was very strong, even to the end of trying to motivate his players. And that's what you do. When you're 1-5, you find something there. And it was his faith. That's what he found. And the players found it too. They just came up short. Were the Ravens going to hire him, or were they going to fire him when they lost to Steelers? Probably not. They had to go to Super Bowl. It was Super Bowl or bust. But he did everything he could to rally this team, and to come within a field goal at the end and the rookie misses it. It's pretty impressive when you start off 1-5 and you look at the total body of work.
All right, real quickly, when we talk about some of the candidates, before I get to the names, how much input should Lamar Jackson have, Mike?
Well, that depends on the owner. And, people keep talking about Lamar Jackson's the best player on the team and so forth, and you build around the best player. No, you don't. You build around defense. Defense travels. You look at the best teams, and you go back and look at the Ravens. You look at Tampa Bay. Those defenses were outstanding. And you look at Houston right now. Oh, my. They got a pretty good defense right there. I like that team. I don't know how far they're going to go, but they're impressive. But you always build with defense, because defense, if you don't score, you're not going to win a lot of games. That's just the way it is.
All right, rapid fire. Let's run through some of these candidates which are floating around the internet and even in Vegas. What about Brian Flores?
He's
sued the NFL a couple of times.
Yeah, there's that baggage there. And I know what he's done and so forth in building that defense, but no, I'm not trusting that situation there. No.
How about Jesse Minter out in Los Angeles working for John's brother right now?
I keep hearing his name very heavy. Could he be the guy? Defense, rebuilding this group here, Ravens? That could happen. And I heard that he has that type of personality that players feed off of. Keep an eye on him.
Yeah, he has a lot of fans inside the castle. I'll say
yes,
that for sure. But if he does leave, I know his I know Jim won't let him bring, many people from the Chargers to the place. But his brother was just fired. Chris Shula, South Florida guy, Lamar, South Florida guy. His name has been talked about, obviously part of the Shula lineage.
Well, you keep hearing about that and the advantages of building an offense around Lamar Jackson. Maybe they'll take a look. I mean, and it all comes down to who impresses the owner the most. And then Eric DeCosta will have a say, but he will not have the final decision. So if they're all impressed, and I'm pretty sure Ozzie will be in there and provide his input, but the final decision will be Steve Bisciotti's. And if he is impressed with the guy, then that's the guy they will hire. I'm not sure because I don't know much about him.
Yeah, well, Steve did hit a home run with John Harbaugh. We'll see if he can duplicate that. What about Kevin Stefanski? Could he come here and lose the stink he had in Cleveland?
And I'm not hiring him. I don't care what anybody says. What did he do in Cleveland? What did he do? Why?
He was coach of the year twice with a bad organization.
I don't care. You know, what has he done and what has he done lately? No, I'm not taking a shot with him. No.
And another guy I would just dismiss right away, but he's out there being talked about, Cliff Kingsbury. I just don't see him being head coaching material. It didn't work out with little Kyler Murray in Arizona. Not going to work out here.
No, and I know some players who played in Arizona. They weren't very happy with him. Nah, you're kind of rolling the dice. I'm not going to make that decision. No. Not
and lastly, speaking of rolling the dice, this is the longest of long shots. You're going to love this one. Bill Belichick knows Ozzie, knows the owner, loves lacrosse, but I don't think he's a fit with Lamar and this team. He can bring his girlfriend with him too. But that's your reaction to Bill Belichick being the fourth head coach in Ravens history?
I cannot see Bill Belichick and Lamar Jackson in a meeting room and working things out.
More of the Bmore Football Podcast right after this.
At Rice Law, we've won millions for our injury clients, taken on the biggest insurance companies, and fought in the toughest courtrooms, and made it clear, strong lawyers win strong cases. But none of that matters today. The only case that matters is yours, your fight, your future. And we're ready to go to battle for you. We don't rest on past victories. We fight every case like it's our only one. Because at Rice Law, the most important victory is the one we win for you.
Rice Law. Best advice, call Rice.
Shake Shack is an amazingly fun urban dining experience, so treat yourself this holiday season with some all-time Shake Shack favorites. From the Shack Burger and crinkle-cut fries to those unbelievably delicious hand-spun shakes, or try some of the limited-time menu items throughout the year. Stop by Shake Shack's newest location at the Festival at Wood Home Shops in Pikesville. See you there. Shop Maryland's largest adult use and medical cannabis menu, located at 1114 Cathedral Street in Baltimore, with medical delivery available throughout Maryland 7 days a week, only at Relief Shop.
For the last 25 years, Wood Home Insurance has been Baltimore's premier independent home, auto, and business insurance broker, representing over 30 carriers. For example, need an auto quote? Wood Home shops them all. Geico, Progressive, Travelers, AAA, Safeco, and Selective, and sends you back the best rates possible. I have personally been a client for over 2 decades, and they are world-class in service. Wood Home's owner, Rich Gottlieb, is happy to schedule a Zoom appointment with you at your convenience. Oh, and Rich is a longtime Ravens season ticket holder, so when at the game, let him know where you're tailgating. He'll drop by and say hello. So for all your needs, it's Wood Home Insurance, 410-580-2800 or woodhomeinsurance.com.
Meet the newest member of the Jack Daniels family, Jack Daniels Tennessee Blackberry. Jack Daniels takes pride in Old Number 7 being the backbone of all our flavors, and Jack Daniels Blackberry is no exception. A combination of our proprietary black liqueur and Jack Daniels' unique and unmistakable character, Jack Blackberry is a highly versatile juxtaposition of flavor, delightfully sweet, Bold, vibrant, and refreshing, Jack Blackberry is easily enjoyed with your favorite mixer, in a cocktail, or while enjoying your next football game. Jack Daniel's Tennessee Blackberry is here, and as always, Jack Daniel's reminds you to drink responsibly. For years, we were told to say no, but Verano is rewriting that story with award-winning flower, vapes, edibles, concentrates, and topicals for every kind of vibe. Shop smart with Savvy, treat yourself with Encore chocolates, relax with an Avexia bath soak, or keep it light with Bits gummies. Want something premium? Grab Essence pre-rolls or a Reserve Eighth. Verano makes premium cannabis for all. Find out for yourself. Head to one of our original sponsors, Relief Shop in Baltimore on Cathedral Avenue, and mention Bmore Verano for an exclusive deal. That's Bmore Verano. This ad and products are intended for legal consumers 21 and over. Effective Solutions, your one-stop shop for commercial contracting. Everything from excavation and site development to emergency remediation and restoration. Effective Solutions specializes in many forms of commercial and mixed-use construction. With a dedicated staff and a commitment to quality, Effective Solutions delivers every time.
All right, let's talk about what's ahead for John Harbaugh. We move to Baltimore and beyond, sponsored by Relief Shop, Baltimore's best adult use and medical cannabis dispensary with 700 plus unique menu items and home delivery available always for medical patients, courtesy of Relief Shop. Connor Welton out there on Cathedral Street. Not a big John Harbaugh fan, but I know he's watching. What is next for John Harbaugh, Presto? To me, he's going to have his pick of almost any job that he wants. In speaking with him on and off the record in the past, I always got the indication if he were to go to another organization, it wasn't going to be an organization with poor ownership, whether it be, the Browns or the Cardinals or the Raiders, who all have vacancies out there, or maybe even a franchise that burned his brother in the past, like a Minnesota.
And people keep saying, oh, the Giants will hire him. John Harbaugh in New York with that media, not happening. I don't see that happening. I would still, if I was John Harbaugh, I would still take that year off. I would still collect that $17.5 million. And basically, the Ravens gave him a deal saying, hey, if you coach here 20 years, then you can walk off with the golden parachute. He's very happy with his family, with his wife. I wouldn't be surprised if John took the year off and then went and coached with his brother in San Diego. I would not be shocked by that at all. But, there's so many things open to him, and he's still young enough to pull it off. So good for John Harbaugh. I just think he's relieved. There's no more pressure. No more, hey, we got to do this, we got to do that. And, I had heard some reports that that both he and Eric DeCosta, they were little bumping heads at the end. I don't know for sure, but I heard that. We'll find out.
Well, that's terrible. They're neighbors. I don't know how that's going to work going down the road here. Well,
the thing is, you bump heads with general managers all the time if you're the head coach. That's not a big deal. You should look at that and just say, it happens. We fight all the time. That's nothing new. And heck, it's no different than Brian Billick getting in fights with Ozzie Newsome. Their offices were right next to each other. So it happens all the time.
Well, one thing I heard that John Harbaugh made clear was that he was fired. They didn't part ways because the terminology has to be phrased that way in order for him to collect the $18 million next year. So savvy move by him and his agent to make sure it was explained that, yeah, I'm getting fired and getting paid.
Hey, you know what? Isn't that a great golden parachute? Get out, you're done, but you're collecting $17.5 million. Life is good. Life is good.
To quote him, I'm in a good spot right now.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. Do you remember seeing that too, huh?
Yep. All right. That does it. Our special edition wrapping up here. We are back next Tuesday, but we had to come back on after this stunning news as the Ravens are in search of their fourth coach. I expect we're going to hear from Eric DeCosta, maybe not Steve Bisciotti, but the league does want you to speak within a week of your season ending, but maybe they can use this head coaching search as an alibi to push things back. But it's important the fan base hears verbally from these guys that are in charge.
Jerry, he needs to. The owner needs to speak. He needs to come up forward and just say whatever he has to say, because you made this decision. It was the final decision, and you need to talk about where do they go from here. and what happens. Free agent wise, what are you going to do with Lamar Jackson? So forth. Just come out and just talk to the people. And I think he's at least smart enough to know that after this season, they finish what, 8-9. There was this demand for John Harbaugh to be fired after every loss. Well, the people have spoken. Now, Mr. Bisciotti, speak back to the people. That's what you need to do.
Well said. We'll end it right there. We are back next Tuesday with another edition of the Bmore Football Podcast. Maybe news on a new head coach. Certainly there'll be changes between now and then. Until then, be real, be kind, and make sure to be back next week for the Bmore Football Podcast.
The Bmore Football Podcast is brought to you by Rice Law.